G'day mate, welcome to Captain Industry with me, Jetty. Today, I want to talk to you guys about smelters. Why smelters, you may ask, Jetty? Well, because I see many people get their first smelter up and running, and they should be proud of their first smelter. Their very first smelter is a wonderful thing. I know I was proud of my very first smelter, and then I got a little bit further into the game and I was ashamed of my very first smelter because I added belts to it, and it was just a mess from that point on. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys a build I've put together that is something you can be proud of from the start of the game through to later in the game. Also, it's something that is upgradable. It's designed to take belts right from square one, but you could just put it down as is and add the belts later. By the same token, if you want to directly feed things from your mines across the map with belts, it has local storage, which you could just plug those belts from far away into, and it'll just keep running. So it's designed to be a very, very versatile system. On top of that, I actually want to show you two different designs. Yeah, two. First one is my preferred design. Honestly, it's limited by the belt limitations. You know, the belts aren't quite fast enough, but that's okay. We can work around that. We can upgrade the belts later. The second one is designed to run flat out, full speed, all the time, right from square one. Up to you guys which you want to put down. But I'm going to ask you one quick favor before we get into actually showing you these two builds. Can you do me a favor? Can you click the like button right now? Now, I'm going to remind you later on in the video, if you didn't like the build, by all means, you can remove your like then. But being these tutorial videos, it really helps with the discoverability of the video, and it really helps new people find exactly this video that you've probably searched for it to come up in your feed. Anyway, with all that said, with the build now up and running, we're going to delete everything, start with a clean slate. I'm going to show you how to put this together. So now we've got a blank slate. We need to plan this out. Now, I'm going to actually start with the belts. If you don't have belts yet, you're just going to have to leave some space for the belts. I'll show you exactly how much spacing you're going to need, but we'll cover that as we get there. At the same time, I'm actually going to bring in my iron from one side and my coal from the other. I'm going to expel out the slag on the same side as I'm bringing in the coal. That's up to you entirely. You might want to chop and change, but it's just how I've decided to run this particular video. Okay, so we're going to start with a U-shaped belt. I'm going to run a dead straight belt, okay? And we're just going to leave it there, okay? That's at flat, ground level, height 0. Next thing I want to do is I want to take another belt, I want to raise it up one tile, and I want to run it across the top. Now, if you have these belts trying to connect, you can press the R button. When you press the R button, it turns on and off this little magnet, and therefore they won't try to connect anymore, okay? Now, I actually need to run the second belt. So the first one's going to be iron or coal, doesn't really matter. I need to run the second belt in the opposite direction because I'm going to bring in the other material from the other side. Lastly, I want to bring out my slag, the same way I'm going to bring my coal, which in my case is going to be to left. And I just want those three belts. That's all I need, okay? I just need some belts so we have sort of a guideline. And I'm also making sure I'm building this on the edge of one of these dark squares, okay? So from there, I need the actual blast furnaces. So we're going to grab a blast furnace under smelting. We're going to grab one of these, and I want to leave a 3-tile gap off the belts. Plus, I want to leave one gap on the right-hand side. On top of that, I want to make sure that the slag is on the right-hand side, okay? I want it on the outside of the belt. So I need to press the F button to flip it, and therefore slag's going to be on the other side. I'm going to put down the first one. I'm going to copy it with the C button, and I'm going to flip it again to make sure that the two exhausts are also right there in the middle, okay? That way they can share an exhaust pipe, okay? Then I want to copy the one on the right, and I want to leave a 2-tile gap. Now, the 2-tile gap is more for symmetry than anything else. You could leave a 1-tile gap, entirely up to you. But basically, I want to copy the one on the right, put it down again, copy the one that was on the left, and put that one down again. Okay, that's our basics of our 4 blast furnaces. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the belts. I'm going to deal with the belts one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to assume I'm bringing in iron from this side. So I'm going to go first belt, iron, first belt, iron, first belt, iron, and first belt, iron. Again, if you have problems with the belts connecting your stuff, try turning the R on and off. Okay, then I'm going to bring in second belt, coal, second belt, coal, second belt, coal, and second belt, coal. Last thing is going to be a slag. Okay, now slag I'm going to bring out, and I'm going to bring it beside the machine and back 1 tile, and then bring it up to that top belt. I'm going to do the same on the other far side because these are easy, and bring it up to there. The middle one I'm going to bring again from either one, doesn't matter which one you want to start with, and then bring it around and stop there, and then bring it up to the top belt. And then it means this one is going to join to there. If they share a belt, it means less power used, okay? Because don't forget, every single belt is going to have some amount of power. If these two are running at the same time, it means they're sharing the same output belt. It means the belt's going to be running, you would think, twice as often, but what actually means is generally they both output their slag at the same time, and they just share the belt. Okay. Next, we're going to work on, actually, let's work on the metal casters. Okay. Now, metal casters, I've got two options. We're going to do the more efficient, the lower belt cost one first. Okay. After that, which I will mention very, very quickly, you can't run at full speed early on. You will have to upgrade at least one of the belts to have it output faster. But I found this is very, very good for until you actually have that research. Okay, I haven't needed extra iron yet, and it means technically I build the whole smelter. I only run half of it. The other half I just leave in pause mode. Occasionally I might turn it on if I happen to be short of iron ore or something like that, because it does buffer a certain amount in the system. But we're going to put down our very first one. Now, I also want to take my iron plates. In my case, I'm going to take them out the right hand side. You might want to take them out left. If so, just reverse everything we're about to do. But our very, very first metal caster, I'm going to flip. I'm going to make sure the output belt is on the right hand side, and I want to line it up so it's dead straight with the slag belt. At the same time, I want to make sure that it is 2 tiles away from the machine. We're going to need this gap here. We need those 2 tile gap. Okay, I'm going to take the next one, dump it there. That was off. There we go. Next one there, and then the fourth one over here. Okay, so that's going to be our 4 machines. Now, we have, as we can see with blast furnaces, they do 24 molten iron out. These guys use 12. So if I have 4 blast furnaces, I actually need 8 metal casters. So we're going to copy these guys, Control C, and then highlight the whole lot. And then we're going to flip the whole build and then reverse it twice. I'm going to put it 1 tile away. So we have a 1 tile gap between the two builds. It's going to be very, very important. All right, next thing we want to do is we're going to go back to belts, and we're going to start with a flat conveyor. Now, it's going to have a problem. I got a belt to connect. Normally you can't get a belt to connect. Okay, it's going to have a problem with this outright. Okay, so what I actually normally do is I remove the second set first. I take my flat conveyor, and I have you output just a couple of tiles. Then I connect the second one with the first one, the third one with the second one, the fourth one with the third one, and then I actually added a bit of belt on the end. Okay, this gives us these connector boxes. Because we have connector boxes now, we can now output or input from the other side. So now we're going to recopy these guys. I'm going to flip them and rotate them and plug them straight back in there. And as you can see, they all line up. Now, this is useless belt. I don't need it. So we're going to remove that. This is also useless belt. I don't need this either. We are going to put in our storage right now, which we are going to rotate the right way. And I'm just going to literally plug it into that connector. Because it's plugged into the connector, it doesn't use any power. If I put a one belt section, that one belt is going to run forever, and it's also going to use 1 kilowatt worth of power constantly. We're trying to avoid that. We're trying to keep the power costs for this particular build as low as possible. All right, next up, we need to jump onto the Molten Channel. Of course, everywhere's got Molten Channel. So we want to go into the first machine, into the second machine, into the third machine, into the fourth machine. They're all straight shots. It's not that hard. Then we're going to take from the first machine to the second machine connector. We need to stop in front of this connector, okay? And then continue on to the next one, and then on to the last one. Then we need to wrap all the way around into the far side, and again, connect machine to machine to machine to machine, okay? Last thing we need to do with is our exhaust. Now, our exhaust, we're going to need a couple of smokestacks. We're going to put one here, facing those 2 pipes. We're going to copy that one. Put the second one here, facing those 2 exhaust pipes. We're going to go back into pipe management. We're going to connect the closest with the exhaust, and then connect the far one into the close one. Okay, and the same on the other side. Thank you. And that is all the belts plugged in, all the exhaust dealt with, all the output dealt with, and everything else. The only thing we haven't dealt with yet is the actual input. So the input wise, we're going to want loose storage. And I like 2 loose storage. I like 2 loose storage for my iron ore. Okay. and we're going to come to this very first belt that's going to be obviously in our way. We're going to remove it. The second belt is the input from the coal. It's going to come from left-hand side. I don't need that sticking out past the machine as well, so I'm going to remove that as well. Last one is our slag, which is actually traveling to our left, so I don't need that either. We're going to remove that too. I'm going to copy that belt, and we're going to plug that belt into there. All right, and all I need to do is I need to set one of these to iron ore, keep full. The second one I'm going to turn off and off. I don't need to set a recipe because when the first one starts inputting iron ore straight into the second machine, it'll auto set the recipe. Now, I do want to mention that the belts only, because they're tier 1 belts, they only move, where are we? U-shape connector. They only move 60 items per second. Now, this guy wants to use 24, this guy wants to use 24, this guy wants to use 24, and this guy wants to use 24. That's a little bit more than 60. So with tier 1 belts, you can't really run this at full speed. But that's not really the issue, because what actually happens is it backs up, it fills up with extra material when it is off, and then it turns back on when you actually need that material, and then all the excess that's been buffered in not only the blast furnaces but also the metal casters can run out. Now, as for the Molten Channel itself, it actually runs at twice the speed. It runs at 120 items per 60 seconds, so it will run perfectly fine. Don't have to worry about that at all. That's never going to need to be upgraded. The output belt, on the other hand, is also limited to 60 per second. Now, we're outputting 12, 24, 36, 48. Double that. It's going to be a lot more than what that output belt can handle. So you can always build the whole thing and then just leave a couple of items paused, which is what I tend to do. Well, I tend to actually, build the whole thing and then just leave a couple of items just paused, not running at all. Or you can just leave them permanently in pause mode and not build them. So that is our iron plugged in. Next thing we're going to need is we're going to need coal from this end. Now, coal from this end, I want to slide it down one tile from the belts and leave a 1 tile gap. And the reason we need to do that is the bottom belt is iron ore. We don't need that to keep passing through. But our second belt is coal, and I want to plug that into there. And then we get to remove that excess belt. So you are going to input coal, and again, I'm going to make sure it's kept like half full. All right, lastly is this top belt. This is our slag output belt. So again, I need another loose storage. We're going to put that there. I'm going to set the filter on this, not that I need to, but it means I'm going to also set the empty condition. All right, now I can just, too close to another connector. That's right, we need to remove the excess, and then I can just take a belt, I can plug it straight into there. But it could do weird things with ramps. So what I do is I actually place this belt manually, and as we see, it's wanting to connect to everything. So I'm going to press R first so it doesn't try to connect to things. We're going to move it up so it's 2 tiles, so it actually runs dead straight. And then I'm going to double click there so it drops. And then I'm going to press the R button after I pick the belt back up again and drop that there. And that is going to be our very first iron smelter. We are going to unpause it, and then we're going to throw Uni at the problem, and the whole thing should get instantly built. All right, so the trucks have started delivering, the belts have started filling up. I've set the recipes, so the whole system should fire up, and we should get iron plates start popping out any second now. So, as I did mention, what these connectors do is they actually do a 50-50 split. So we'll see the first guy's got all the ore because he's actually getting a belt of 60 coming in, and 30 of it's coming here. The other 30 is passing on to here. Now, this guy's also getting a 50-50 split, which means he's getting 15 per 60 seconds, and the other 15 is passing along, which means the second guy's not going to quite run at full speed, but we can mitigate that by pausing his friends. Last two, this guy's going to get 15 halved again, which is 7.5, and this guy's going to get 7.5. You're going to have some problems. Okay, coal shouldn't be a problem because the belt brings in 60 per second, and these are using 9 apiece, 9, 18, 36. We're moving 60, that's not a problem. Molten Channel, the Molten Channel will fill up. That's not an issue. It will run at full speed. Same with these guys. They'll actually, over time, they'll actually buffer up with extra molten iron that luckily stays hot forever, and they can't output. And like I said, you will need to upgrade the belts to run this at full speed. If that's the case, all I do is I pause 2 of these guys and I pause 3 of these guys. Why 3? Well, this moves 12, that does 12, that does 12, that does 12. 4 times 12 is 48. Plus the 12 is 60. Now, in theory, I'm not adding enough material. Actually, no, we can't pause. We can't pause the last two. We're going to pause the first two because we need the iron ore to flow into here to run these guys. Yes. All right. In theory, we're not producing enough molten iron to feed this guy. But like I said, what actually happens is you end up filling up your warehouse full of iron, as I've done now. And then because the warehouse is full, nobody's taking the iron away, but the smelters keep smelting. Because they keep smelting, this guy buffers up a whole bunch of material, as does his friends. And then finally, when the system actually gets turned back on, and you actually have a need for that iron plate, you can get a burst of iron plate out because you have extra material buffered up in the machines. So that is our first build. Second build is slightly different. I'm going to walk through that right about now. The front of the build is entirely the same. So all the smelters, all the blast furnaces are exactly the same. The difference comes down to, well, the output. The output. As I said, this one does require upgrading. The other one doesn't. It does require a couple of tiny modifications. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete all of that. And again, I'm going to throw Unity at the problem. And at the same time, I need to delete both these storages. Yeah, that's a lot of iron ore thrown in the ground. All right, just give us a sec whilst the trucks dispose of everything, and then we'll be back to do the other half of the video. The trucks have disposed of everything, and we're ready to go with the second design, but it does mean that we're more than halfway through the video. So I'm going to remind you, remember how I asked you to like the video earlier? If you did like the video, you've watched till now, you decided you want to take away your like, that's perfectly understandable. If you didn't click like then, I'll give you a second. I'll give you a second right now. You scroll down a little bit, click the like button. Because you've seen the first build, you've hung around for the second build, which is more efficient. It actually runs at full speed, 96 iron plate per minute. That's pretty impressive from such a small footprint. Trust me, it's about the same size. At the same time, I will ask you if you want to see more tutorial videos like this. I've got an upcoming one on copper smelting, because obviously that's entirely different to iron. I will ask that you click the subscribe button now. Okay. With that out of the way, let's start with this build. So one thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to double our iron ore input, because we're trying to bring in 24 from each machine, which is 24, 48, 96, and our belt supports 60 items per second. So first thing I want to do is I want to come around the rear, and I actually want to delete just that one belt segment. It did not delete the whole lot. Perfect. Where it'll disappear, and then we're going to bring this belt out to here, thank you, to here. Thank you. Okay, then I want to come past this connector. Now, I don't want to go around this connector. I want to go straight past it. So what I'm going to do is press R, and that will force it to not connect to things. Bring it along to here. Press R again, and then we'll tuck it in under there. Okay, with that done and it unpaused, we now have two belts fitting the whole build, which means it's going to have Unity spent on it, and it's going to run at the speed of, these two are going to use 48, these two are going to use 48. It's going to run flat out. Okay, so that's the easy part done. Next part is going to be the actual metal casters. So metal casters around here, we are going to want to put these down. Now, this is a little bit fiddly. I'll warn you. This is why one of the reasons I prefer the other design, although I need to upgrade the belts later. I don't like the fiddly. Okay, so we're going to put down the first one, and then the second one, and then third, and then fourth. Okay, now, I placed the first one with its output in line with that slag belt. Okay, it's molten iron input, I guess that's what we call it. The molten channel input, yes. It lines up with the far right hand side of this one. Okay, and if we look at this one, it also lines up with the far outside side of this one. Okay, that's important. Okay, we don't want to stretch too far forward. We don't want to stretch too far back. We sort of want to keep everything in the same footprint. All right, next thing we need to do is we need to get a flat connector. We're going to bring this out a few tiles. Okay, doesn't matter where, we're going to be deleting it shortly. We're going to bring the next one into here. That's easy. The third one, it doesn't want to go past that connector. If we try and drag it over, it's going to do funny business. So what we need to do is we need to stop in front of that connector, click, and then drag it on again and click to the next input. Same with the last one. We need to bring it here, click, and then on again. Doesn't matter whether the magnet's on or off. It's just the way the connectors are. They're a little bit funky. All right. Next thing I need to do is we need to bring this around. We're going to connect that first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. And on a little bit. Okay. We need that connector on the back. Then I'm going to copy all four of those, sorry. Press the F button and rotate it twice. So once with the F, two with the R, and then line it up so all four of them plug into the back of that. Okay, eventually we'll be able to copy belts as well. Repeat the process with the belts. This side you might notice is much easier. Okay, with that done, we're going to cancel this and we're going to cancel this. Okay, I don't want them sticking out the end. We now have our Molten Channel, which is moving 24 molten iron, 48, 96, down and around through the middle. The Molten Channel moves 120 items per second. We're fine. Not even an issue. These guys are also on their own separate independent belts. So this one outputs 48 and this one outputs 48. Now, here is when it's entirely up to you. We want to put storage on the end. You can put a storage right here in the middle. Oh, actually, let's just cancel that belt before I forget. Yep. Okay, storage. You can put storage here in the middle. And you can connect a belt into there and a belt into there and have a nice, pretty storage in the middle. What I prefer to do is put one storage there and one storage there. The fact that they're direct connected means, again, I'm saving power on belts because each one of these belts is going to use 2 kilowatts. And if you're running it flat out, you're using, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. If we had another 2 belts on the end, there'd be another 4 kilowatts. It adds up. The other thing you can do is have 2 storages. And then if you like the symmetry, you could have 2 more belts here. And that's going to use 1 kilowatt. That's going to use 1 kilowatt. It's technically less power. It also gives you a buffer to your buffer. And all we do is we set these export off. Trucks can't come to here. They're always going to come to the end one. For me, personally, I'm happy if the trucks come to any which one. I don't really mind. They can collect iron from anywhere they feel like. Okay, with all that done, we're going to unpause that. We're going to spend Unity on that. Unpause that. Helps if I press the right button on the keyboard. And we're going to crank up the game speed. And because these are all pre-buffered, because, obviously we built them and then destroyed the fronts of them, so they had nothing to do, they're going to output at full speed, and this should be running just about instantly. Can I get rid of all those icons, please? Thank you. All right, same time, I want to look at this, because this is one of the reasons I don't like building this particular build, and that's just the sheer amount of iron ore that you need to keep feeding into this constantly. All right, you have cleared your buffer. Have you cleared your buffer? Yes. Yes and no. Yes, you've now cleared your buffer as well. So if we click on this, we can see... Come on, dump your cargo. Excellent. We can see that that's counting down fairly quickly. And trying to keep up with this much demand with the little trucks is difficult. Now, don't get me wrong, it will back up eventually. You only need to put ore in as fast as you take plate out. And if you're not taking plate out, they're going to fill up and then, less ore in. But it's a lot of ore to get in, and it's a lot of coal to get in when you first fire up the system, and a lot of slag to get out. So just something to keep in mind. But this is the alternate build. Now, I will be doing a couple of things. One, I'll be putting some high-resolution images on my Discord with the layers turned on, so you can get, exact grid placements. You can work out exactly where to put this if you just want to outline the area and leave it for later. At the same time, I'm going to ask you guys, now we're getting to the end of the video, if you enjoyed the video, very, very much if you enjoyed the video, can you consider supporting the channel? And the reason I ask that is we've now done a, 25-minute video where there's been no ads. We've put an ad at the start because I have to, otherwise YouTube bombs the videos, but that's it. Maybe there'll be an ad at the end. That's up to YouTube more than me. So, 2 ads, one at the start, one at the end, that's it. And I don't run ads during the videos because I look to you guys. My time is valuable, your time is valuable. I don't want to watch ads, you don't want to watch ads. So I ask you consider supporting the channel. For supporting the channel on YouTube with a YouTube membership, it costs you $1 per month. Be surprised, a lot of people doing $1 per month really, really adds up. Or you can choose to support across the Patreon. That's $2 per month. Like I said, I'm cheap. I'd much prefer a little bit of support from a lot of people rather than a few big whales supporting the channel. In saying that, you do get early access to videos. You can come jump on a Discord server, sync your 2 accounts. I've automated the system, and the robots will give you access to a private lounge where you get early access to the videos. So you could have watched this video before it premiered for everybody else. You could go probably check out the copper video potentially tomorrow. It should be up by tomorrow because I'm going to have to do another video covering copper smelting. Also, Let's Plays and that sort of stuff. The video's generally up there 24, 48 hours early. So you get early access to videos. Also, YouTube membership. You get access to some pretty emotes. Anyway, with all that said, this is where I'm going to call this video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. I do hope you found this build effective, efficient, and most of all, at least not too bad to look at. Anyway, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the very next video. All right, bye.